All right, guys, this is 4.5 for you geometry folks. We're talking about trapezoids and kites, or trapezoids and kites, for those of you guys who cannot pronounce things correctly. Trapezoids and kites. Trapezoids and kites fit into different categories. They're different kind of parallelograms. I don't like the term parallelograms because they vaguely fit in because they have four sides, but they're not even really parallelograms. I'll show you what I mean in a second. So all rules of parallelograms kind of go up the window with trapezoids and kites. Trapezoids, you got two bases, you got two legs. How can you tell the difference? The trapezoids have got one set of parallel sides, one pair of parallel sides. Two sides that are parallel, those are the bases. Yeah, I know, this is quadrilateral. There should not be an I in there. An isosceles trapezoid is a very, very specific kind. It's got two parallel bases, but the legs are congruent to each other. So it's got two bases, two legs. Legs are congruent, and just like an isosceles triangle, the base angles are going to be congruent to each other. All right, so this is a good example of what an isosceles trapezoid is going to look like. All right, you got one set of parallel sides, congruent. Congruent means these angles are congruent, which means these angles are congruent. So, additionally, in an isosceles trapezoid, diagonals are going to be congruent, just congruent, not perpendicular, not bisecting, not anything like that. The diagonals are just congruent to each other. They are not going to be bisecting. That's why I can't really say this is going to be just like a parallelogram. So the mid-segment is almost exactly what it sounds like. It is halfway between the top and the bottom base. Okay, so this distance is going to be congruent to this distance. It's exactly halfway. And here's kind of what's fun. It's parallel to each base, and it is equal to half of this plus this. Okay, so like if this is 8, this is 10, this is going to be equal to half of that. So the mid one is going to be equal to 8 plus 10 divided by 2. So the mid one would be 9. Okay, so like if this was 5, this was 7, this is going to be 6. All right, so it's going to look like that. So this is this is right away an isosceles trapezoid. These are my parallels. These are congruent. This is 101. This has got to be 101. These two are congruent. Whole thing's got to be 360, and these two have got to be 180. So this better be 79, and this had better be 79. Because those two got to be supplementary because they're parallel. So angle D is going to be 101. Angle B better be 79, otherwise it's not really an isosceles trapezoid. So they tell you right now, JKLM is an isosceles trapezoid. JML is 130. So this whole big angle here is 130. KN is 6.7 feet. MN is 3.6 feet. So that means I would putting together the whole diagonal would not be a bad idea right now. So I get 10.3 for that whole diagonal. So if that's 130, it's isosceles. That means this better be 130. That means this better be supplementary. That means this better be 50 and this better be 50. All right, so my diagonals are 10.3, 130, 130, 50, 50. So MJK is going to be a 50 degrees, and JL, that's going to be 10.3, if I did my math correctly. So given DFGH is a trapezoid of bases DF and GH, where DF is 5 and GH is 15, find the midsegment. So you've got to draw a picture. Base DF, base GH. DF is 5, GH is 17. Figure out the midsegment. Remember a couple things. One, midsegment is parallel to the top and bottom. Midsegment is also halfway in between the midsegment and the bottom, which means to figure it out, add the two bases, divide by 2. That's 22 divided by 2, so this thing better be 11. Nice and simple. Straightforward. Sometimes math does that. All right, MN is the midsegment. Find the value of x. So this time they give you the midsegment. They give you one of the bases, figure out the other one. So what they're saying is this, 20 plus x, top base, bottom base, divided by 2, it's going to equal 30. So a little bit of algebra. X equals 40. That means this had better equal 40. Length of one base of a trapezoid is 44. The mid-segment 30, and the other base is 2x plus 12. Find the value of x. So draw a trapezoid, hopefully better than mine. So the length of one base is 44. The mid-segment is 30, and the other base is 2x plus 12. So let's do this. They don't really tell us which base is the top and which base is the bottom. So theoretically, you could have, well, no, they kind of do, because if this is 30, there's no way this can be 44, because that's got to be smaller. So that's got to be 44. So 2x plus 12 is the top base. All right, so now we got to get a little clever here. So 2x plus 12 plus 44 divided by 2 equals 30. So now you can follow what we did in the last problem. I'm going to put this together. 56 divided by 2 equals 30. You can multiply both sides by 2, that's fine. I'm going to get clever. 2 divided by 2 is x. 56 divided by 2 is going to be 228. So that's going to equal 30. So x is going to equal 2. There is my answer. So a kite has got 2 pairs of consecutive congruent sides. Only 1 pair of opposite angles are congruent. All right, that's going to be this one and this one. And in a kite, the diagonals are perpendicular, and the diagonal between the non-congruent sides bisects that pair of angles. So this diagonal bisects this diagonal. So those 2 are congruent. The other 2 are not. These 2 are not congruent. These 2 are. So if I got a kite, that's 121. This is 121. This is 73. XYZ, remember the whole thing still has to add up to 360 because it's still a 4-sided polygon. So 360 minus 121 minus 121 minus 73. This is going to be 45. 45. So MNPQ is a kite. Find NP. Ooh, you got to get a little clever here. So that's 6. This is 8. Remember, this side, these 2 get bisected, so that means that's also 8. This is a right triangle. So get clever here and realize that's a right triangle. So that's going to be 6 squared plus 8 squared. That's going to be square root of 100. So my diagonal is going to be 10. So FGH. So I got to take whatever I got left minus that and divide it by 2. So that makes that 80, that 80. So if this is a kite, find ZY. So again, it's a right triangle. So 8 squared plus 24 squared. Take the square root of that. Equals square root of 640. And I get 25.298. That's all I got. Now, real quick, so let's take a look at what we got. We have parallelograms. We got everything true about that. All right, we have rhombus. We have rectangle. And we have square. We have those 4 things together. Now, kind of off of here is this. We've also got trapezoid and an isosceles trapezoid. Isosceles trapezoid and a rectangle are kind of connected a little bit because they have diagonals that are congruent. All right, then we have a kite, and a kite and a rhombus are a little bit connected because the diagonals are perpendicular. So this would be kind of a spread out way to talk about all of the quadrilaterals that for this unit. All right, come talk to me if you got questions. Thanks.